What's up, guys? We're back. We're here another episode on the Midget, so let's jump right into it. All right, guys, welcome back to the Noah's Daily Driven. We're back here pushing forward with the little midget build that we got going on. Now, after we got to a point yesterday, we got the chassis laid out pretty much, and we were going to start working on the shock tower. So obviously, I'm pretty excited about this. So I stayed late and started pushing forward and working on it. And I actually got to the point where I cut out the rear shock tower. And then, so I was able to put the shock tower on. And then I came across some issues with the spacers that it came with. The hose didn't line up. And the good thing is that we're able to get the hose so good lined up. With the laser and the acrylic, I went ahead and cut out spacers for it. So all that's lined up. Installed the shocks, everything's good. So then I went to put the cage on. And then I started looking, and I'm like, well, cage fits. And then I started looking at battery placement. And I had this thought process of I'm going with battery. Well, because of the way the bulkhead is on the front of the X-ray, battery wasn't going to fit right. And plus where the servo was mounted. So we had to modify that. So unfortunately, I didn't really want to, but we had to cut the chassis, the front bulkhead, in order for it to shift everything over and then make it where it fits. So that's where we're at. So the car looks completely different. That's why I'm trying to catch you up. We're trying to get going on this because we're getting to the part where we need to start cutting carbon. So I kind of got a timeline I'm trying to reach. So we're pushing pretty hard now. So let's turn around and look at this. All right, as you can see, it looks completely different, but it also looks like a vehicle now. So obviously we got the chassis mounted. We even threw a motor in it. If y'all haven't found out, Power Products has a new line of motors coming out, the R7s that haven't, I'm not sure if they've been officially released, but they were released on Chili Bowl, so we picked up a couple. As you can see, we got the rear shock tower in gold. So we got that set up. Now this was a pretty tricky setup because you see how close that is. And then, I mean, at the same time, we're trying to make it look unique. Shock tower, I wasn't really sure what I was going to do because the way the roll cage is in the center. And I want everything to be tucked nice and neat how it is now. The car's nice and tucked, and it should look really good once we get done. So what I did use was, and this is a part where I'll talk about, we're using artwork prior so like that and make it our own. So as you can see, this is a shock tower off the Midwest mod, the cardboard word. So we used pieces of it kind of resemble what we had. Now, I had to stretch out this flat piece really wide to go past the shock tower, and I didn't want it to be a straight line. So we want to reuse a lot of the stuff that the car came with. So there was a mount on the backside for the tail tank. So we incorporated it and made it look, add a little cosmetics to it. So let's take a deeper look at it. As you can see, we made it. We still got the same similarities in the bottom. So we know it's a design that we used prior on another car. And then this is the piece that's going to be mounted there. So it utilizes these two holes here in the center. And this will go up and then mount the tail tank. As you can see, we even put, we went ahead and put the SJD logo in there. Now, this won't be a complete cutout when we do the carbon fiber. It will just be kind of like a indentation. Now, here's the part where we had to move everything around. If you look at the shock, this servo was here in the middle, and this was an extra hole wide. So we had to cut this, so we were able to move the servo over. So now the battery will fit right here. Let me put the battery in. So now it fits. As you can see, I did break the shock tower in the front because I was sawing away on this bulkhead, but we're ready to go. So as you can see, we go ahead and incorporated this part comes off. We used it on the Midwest mod and the late model. So that's another deal. So we added our own little things to it. You can see the chassis is kind of centered out. So yeah, pretty excited about it. So now comes the front bumper, the rear deal to hold the tail tank. We're going to utilize the same method that he used prior, and then we're going to make the battery hold down. So we already we did miss the holes here for the battery strap or for the battery hold down. As you can see, there's no holes there, so we had to move those holes over that way and this one over a little bit. So now all of that's been remodified. We went ahead and made the proper adjustments that we needed to do, and then we went ahead and cut out all the pieces in cardboard, and then we went ahead and cut it out in some more acrylic. So now we're going to take everything back off and put everything back on with all the new stuff and make sure it fits so we can go ahead and start cutting carbon fiber. All right, for the most part, we got everything mounted up. There's some spacers that go underneath this washer, so it should kick it back up. And then we do have to make a slight more adjustment on these posts. The standoffs probably go back 2 and 1 millimeter back this way, and that should be it. So we'll go ahead and make the changes on the program, and then all the other holes are exactly the same on the back end, front end. It was just really the standoffs that we were, and then making sure that the bumper and everything fits. The bumper's no problem because we can do that. It's not a problem. So now we're trying to get everything cut out and permanently put in place, so we can at least fire this thing up and set the trim, and then move on to the next thing. So let's get into some carbon. All right, guys. So it's been hours after this last clip. We talked about putting carbon and stuff on it. So cutting carbon is completely different than just cutting the laser. The carbon fiber, you can only do so much. I've done burnt up plenty of routers trying to figure this thing out, and I think I finally figured out a good pace. I think I'm slowly trying to speed it up, but without trying to hurt the machine. But I went ahead and cut everything out and installed it on the car. I'm not sure if that's something I really want me to go over or really detail on how the machine works, but it's programming, and you spend hours. I spend hours designing it, and then you spend hours of creating tool paths for machine to go. So yeah, so we finally got it. I'm not complaining, it's just part of the process. But at the same time, I'm very anxious to get this thing together so we can fire it up and move on to the next step. So we got it together, so let's check it out. First things first, let's start off with the serial number. So Silky, when he cut my chassis out, he started labeling his chassis, and it was 2022 dash whatever. So I'm kind of following the same trend. So Kevin has 2024-1. He had it, which was a different chassis. We'll get into that later. Now he has -2. Now this is -3 for 2024. So this is the third car coming out of the SJD lineup. So you've got all the carbon, everything set up. We do have these spacers that will go right here. I know these are just plastic, but I did go ahead and cut some carbon fiber ones out. I'm going to try to figure out the 3D printer and maybe make a nice big there. And we have everything mounted up in the back. Now this is the cage for the big, like a regular sprint car. There is another cage that came with the kit for the midget, but I'll go ahead and make a revised version of that for that. But other than that, there it is. Let's throw the cage on. So there it is. I'm not sure if there's a rule on the body or the cage, but I try to make it as wide in the bottom as it is on top. So yeah, everything in the bottom of the chassis is pretty countersunk. We had to add 2 spacers here to mount up the front. Only kind of concerned about is if it does ever, but yeah. There it is. All right, guys, so yeah, there it is. We have it together, mission accomplished. Now, looking at it already, after it's built together and thinking about a couple of things, even though that you can't make adjustments on the fly, you still want to be able to have adjustments on the car. So I think there's a revised part I want to make for this already. I'm also going to make another chassis cut out at 2.5, and then I'm going to make an optional front shock tower to help us out for tuning purposes, track condition. So yeah, that's about it for today. I know this video wasn't maybe as informational and more talking, but at the end of the day, we're trying to get this carbon fiber cut, and we are utilizing that very little bit of carbon that we had, and it's come out pretty good. So pretty happy about that. So let me know what y'all think about the build. Up next, we're gonna do something about a body. Now I know there's a couple of, obviously GFRP has a body, I think Undercovers has a body, but we have the capabilities of cutting our own body here. So I think we're gonna try to shoot for it. So that's it for today. Thanks for following us and watching. According to analytics, a lot of people watch and don't subscribe. If y'all don't mind, help me subscribe. It'll help boost the channel. We're trying to hit that 1,000 mark. We're just trying to grow. We have so many, pretty much the process that we did today, we're going to be doing all year in cars, but we also have to test them. So hopefully we better hit the track soon and try to try this car out, and then everything else. So once again, thanks so much, and we'll see y'all on the next one.